Now, you might think because we've set the program up this way that this Pupil of the Eye movement has only benefited people who are of African descent. I now want to bring on Christian and Hoda to share what has these spaces, Foundation Hall University, the LA Race Call, the annual conferences, what have they meant to you? I guess ladies before gentlemen. Go ahead, Hoda.
What can I say after having heard all these wonderful testimonials by so many amazing people of African descent? I'm just so happy that I'm allowed to be in this space. Like the House of Justice says, the page has turned. And obviously at the first Arise conference, which I didn't have the blessing to be there, it must have been like an implosion of a star, a coming together of people of African descent, and the waves, the tsunami of solar waves are what we're witnessing. And we will continue to witness, because we are never going to go back to before that time, because we are only going to go forward. I've had the blessing of participating in Foundation Hall University right up when the pandemic started in March. And it was a lifeline for me. I would be there at an average of 2, 3, 3.5, sometimes 4 or 5 hours. And I'm still in an extension of that space in the East Coast morning prayers led by Barbara. And I have learned a tremendous amount, the amount of guidance that we have studied from the writings. But I must say the most powerful thing I learned is to center the pupil of the eye. Have you ever seen an eye when the pupil is actually the bottom or the top or to the left or the right? It can't see, and it looks really weird. But when you center the pupil of the eye right in the middle, and it's been a deliberate, cultivated, a deliberate culture of centering the pupil of the eye. And I have learned as an Iranian immigrant Baha'i to not to center myself, but be on the periphery and support the pupil of the eye, hear the reflections. I have heard so many intimate, honest. I've learned to be more authentic, real in my conversations, rather than just kind of be more, which is my culture habit of being more about, the image of everything looking right and perfect. No, I've learned that Abdu'l-Baha says the coming together of the East and West. I've heard the great benefit and bounty of actively listening, putting myself out of the picture, and listening to the consultations, the conversations of people of African descent, of their past history, current history, how race and racism impacts them on a daily basis, and how I can be an ally. I heard on the Foundation Hall University, how can Persians make a collective movement towards walking together and supporting racial justice? So I went to sleep thinking about it. I woke up and I called Barbara. Barbara, will you please help me with starting a Facebook page called Iranian Baha'is for Racial Justice? And she has been so helpful. This is what Barbara does. And I'm sure everybody has kind of mentioned it, but I want to say her 24/7 ability to accompany everybody, all of those who are willing to accompany them in their path of service. I also have been participating in this most wonderful Persian and African American Book One study circle through the lens of racial justice. And then an African American Baha'i, new Baha'i, she also started, and now she is facilitating, and I'm supporting her work in another Book One through the lens of racial justice. And I'm in so many Zoom spaces that are led by Baha'is of African descent. And it is so empowering. And this is how it's going to remain. We're never going to go back, because the page has turned, and we'll never go back to the days when they're on the periphery and they're not seen. They're front and center. That's how they're loved by Baha'u'llah and Abdu'l-Baha. Thank you for giving me the chance to share.
thank you, my friend. We have daily conversations. In fact, my husband will say, "Who's on the phone?" Hoda. Yeah. So anyway, because it requires these, and I know that's one of the themes and the goals of Partners for Racial Justice is these collaborations, and they happen all in these spaces. You know, like Beverly, who sang the song Ya Baha'u'llah. She had a dear friend that helped her to get that, you know, the video and all of that stuff together. So, but Christian, could you share? Because we're going to go to Christian, and then I'm going to pull Steve back as we call it to, you know, I'm going to pass it back to Steve because I want to know what has this done for Steve. Christian, I know I've seen you in Foundation Hall University and the LA Race Call and now Copper to Gold. You've been a busy man. Christian, would you like to share?
I do. I just thank you, Podies. I've been a Baha'i for 47 years. And I've fought this battle. I've seen this destruction of you people. And it's just broke my heart. I'm so sorry. We've tried. We don't know how to do it. What Rabbi Musa said is that it all depends on this. Everything depends on this. If we cannot come together, there's no hope for us, for the world, for peace. The Persians brought it into birth, shed their blood. The whites built this structure. You have to put the flesh and bones, blood on the bones that we built. We don't know how to do it. I meet with the Podies every day because I need to be around them. And I built a wonderful relationship with some people, and Auntie Agnes is my partner. She's my spiritual heart, and she has come to join on this call. We have come together. Blessed are ye. Blessed are ye when the white and the black come together. She is called the whites, the pure in heart. You don't know what that does to us with our history. Be called the pure in heart. Of course, we're the pure in heart. We all have a pure heart, even the white people. Auntie Agnes, would you like to share?
Thank you. I had to find a reason to love white people. And I have found that they are the pure in heart. If it wasn't for the pure in heart, we would not be here. So instead of looking at white people as an individual and things that they have done, and that negative point of view, but looking at them as being pure in heart opens up my heart to love them. Because we cannot do this alone. We have to do it together. And in building on our relationships will help save us for today and tomorrow. Because we would have accomplished the greatest thing on earth. And that is the show of love for each other. Thank you.
Amen. Amen. Thank you both.
Thank you
both. Now I want to bring thank you. I now want to bring in Steve Sarowitz. You know, we're talking about these unities. Of course, Hoda and I are dear friends, and many. I have many Persian and white and black. I got friends. You know, I see hearts. I see a cool heart. I see a sincere heart. They're my friends. And so I want to bring Steve Sarowitz back because Steve was one of those people after I left Arise 2019 and went to Chicago for a Persian friend's wedding. And there was, they said, you got to meet this guy, Steve, because pretty much I just stopped my work of leadership and all the stuff I do out there in the world. As I mentioned, I'm an author, so there's stuff I was doing. But I was compelled to do this Pupil of the Eye movement, but it takes a lot of work. I just thought maybe I'll go do a conference and go back. And then I run into this guy, Steve, and he says, how can I help you? And I want to assure you that had it not been for Steve, and I mean, there's lots of people. I mean, there's lots of people that have said, how can I help you, Barbara? Whether it's a person like Cynthia says, I'll be in the background, or Takia, I'll do the chat, or I'll help you. I mean, but Steve, if we're talking about this cross-cultural ethnic collaboration, Steve was one of those folks. Foundation Hall is actually www.worldembracing.net. www.worldembracing.net. So Steve is one of those people behind the scenes that says, in fact, he says, Barbara, I will be the wind beneath your wings. So I'd like to turn it back to Steve and ask him, you've been the wind beneath my wings. What has this meant to you? And I think then you could, Josefina, you guys can see how you guys close this out. I think there's probably more people. I saw other names, but I don't have them in front of me because I'm on the side of the road for these 3 hours. People are walking by like, she's just sitting there to do this. I thought I would get at my destination before. So Steve, I'd like to turn it back over to you. I want you to share your testimony and any other things that you would like to share.
Before I do, just a side note from Josefina, she asked me to mention Beverly Freema's work. Some people are asking if they could have access to it, and she's going to post it in the chat, and she does accept donations.
Baha'u'llah says the best of all people is he who earns a livelihood by his calling. So yes, Beverly's got all kinds of talent, and if people support that, you're going to even see more than that Ya Baha'u'llah, how you heard it, that was there. So please, Cynthia, or anybody, Carol, there's a bunch of people here that can put the link in the chat box if Cynthia, if Beverly's on the phone. Steve, thank you. I want to take this time to publicly thank you, so that I can focus on 12 million moving parts. I want to thank you for your support, my friend.
Your friendship is thanks enough. I am honored, grateful. I am touched every time I'm here. To the depth of my soul when I see the people sharing, when I listen to their stories. I've always wanted to help, but I didn't know how. So, I'm one of the wealthiest Baha'is in the world, and I have all these resources, but you can throw money at things and it just doesn't work. And so I'm always grateful when I see someone doing the work that I can just be a little wind beneath your sails. Somebody so brilliant as you, Barbara, and really all the people surrounding you. I love everything you're doing. I want to be the support not only for you, but for as many PODIs as I can. And, we have a foundation, Wayfarer Foundation, and I'm working with the great Laura Herrick, who Cynthia Barnes-Slater walked me into Walker Brothers and said, you need to work with Laura. And so I listened to her. And another wonderful PODI. I always get more out of this than I give, always, and without any effort. What I've learned, that's the big thing, is that you put me and you in the room, as brilliant as you are, and the public's going to look at me, and I'm this tall, rich, white guy, and they start listening to me, and all of a sudden that spotlight's on me. I'm married to a woman of color, and this happens to her, and it annoys the hell out of her, pardon my French, but it does. We've been married for 25 years, and people always like, she got a kick out of it because she's doing this project in Chicago, and she's tearing down a church at the request of the community, and the church is literally falling down on itself, and somebody got a bug up their butt to attack the project because he really didn't understand what the community wanted. I had nothing to do with the project, but they still blamed me because I was the man and the white man. And so interestingly enough, it got me badly that time. But for the most part, I need to stay in the background. I need to, because my very presence will put a damper on this thing. And so I've tried to do that today. I try to do that all the time. I love to watch your work. I love to watch Derek and all the people that spoke today. I mean, everybody. I was honored to be part of Pupil of the Eye. Our faith needs this soul touching element. And I believe once we white Baha'is do what we're supposed to do, which is stand as support, that the faith will grow. My favorite thing to do is teach the faith. And I love to teach the faith every day to everyone I meet. And I realize that this is better teaching the faith is by demonstrating. So I'm still a pretty new Baha'i, only 6 years. And so I'm just grateful to be part of this. I'm grateful I love this faith. I love Baha'u'llah. I love you, Barbara. I think you're just an amazing human being. Whether you were a Baha'i or not, whether you're my friend or not, I'd be a fan. And I have to say one other thing is that the depth of the learning about the faith that I get from this, just as a Baha'i, forget about my skin color or your skin color, just as a Baha'i, I'm grateful for the writings being shared, for the understanding of the writings, for the spirit of the writings. I'm grateful as a fellow human being to be part of this. And I guess the biggest thing I want to say to people for Sodis like me is we have to learn the supporting role, because we don't have to be in the spotlight all the time. We get it plenty. So that's enough for me to say. That's all. Thank you for letting me be part of this.
We've got a mutual admiration society going on here between us.
If anyone has any last minute comments or questions, a good question for you, Barbara. Are there any plans for a PODI teaching conference or projects that are led and directed by PODI?
That's an easy one. Yes. Once we get, past COVID and stuff like that. But I also, one of my areas now is we've been raising the adults. I want to get out there to those young mothers, and I want to get to some of those kids and let them know who they are as a PODI and not wait till they get to be adults. I mean, some of the parents that we've taught now, their kids are already grown and whatever, because we have an aging audience, but we're going younger. I can just say that. So yes, everybody will know who they are soon enough so that they can have even a bigger mark in life.
I see Kimberly has raised her hand.
Yes, thank you. Foundation Hall has transformed my life. I was in a place of fear, and being in this beautiful space of spirit and love and just complete consecration has inspired me in so many different ways. And by the way, I'm a Sodi. So being in the space and making the friends that I've made and being able to then come to my community and address the racism within the community and become so much more active in teaching Ruhi classes and children's classes and junior youth classes, and just being in so many different spaces where the pupil of the eye is centered and needs to continue to be centered. So I'm eternally grateful for the courage and the bravery and the love for Baha'u'llah that just exudes out of everyone in this space. So thank you. And Ya Baha'u'llah.
Thank you. See you back at FHU.
I've got Tony Hollinger.
I'll just add to what everyone else has said. I've recently had the wonderful blessing to associate with Barbara as I was doing, book 8 study, and someone mentioned the impact that 2019 PODI had on them. And so, yeah, she knows I'm tying into everything I can at this point in time. But Steve, just specifically based on your perspective, and I'm a Marine vet, I'm a Harvard business guy. There are so many different things that can either complement or distract from my development as a Baha'i, particularly in the business world and all these things Barbara's mentioned, trying to keep all these things going. Have you found it particularly challenging, or particularly not easy, but particularly smooth, if you will, to strengthen your Baha'i faith in the environment of your business success as well?
In Baha'u'llah says, the rich but for a few, that hidden word, basically saying, I'm going to paraphrase. I have a lot of them memorized, but I haven't memorized this one yet. I have to. But essentially, that wealth is a burden for just a very few, and we have to be detached from our wealth. And if we're not detached from our wealth, it'll be a burden to us. And so there's no question that wealth makes it harder to be a good Baha'i, not easier. It allows me to give more to the cause, but it's a challenge. And you have to be detached. Part of being a good Baha'i is to have your spirit in the Abha kingdom, not in the material kingdom. The other challenge I find in the business world is that a lot of the business world doesn't want to operate by Baha'i principles. And so you're constantly I'm in a lawsuit right now with someone who's very much not operating on any Baha'i principles. And my partner's Baha'i and I'm Baha'i. And we have to, sometimes luckily we can help each other, but stop each other from reacting like a human being when you're getting punched to punch back. to just do what we can to defend ourselves and no more. And so that's always, I would say that I think it's great to reach out to other Baha'is in business. I became a Baha'i 6 years ago. I lost all interest in business. I had started a really successful company called Velocity, and I said, I'm just going to be a Baha'i. I don't need any money. I'm good. And now over the last 6 years, I've learned to incorporate it. So now it's actually very interesting to me and actually a thrill to me, because I'm partners with Justin Baldoni, who's I always extol my partner, Justin. I adore him. He's a great Baha'i. He's got a great heart. And he's trying to use his fame, relatively fame, because he's one of the more famous Baha'is, to make the world a better place. And he has a book out called Man Enough. Anyway, enough about Justin. But it's just what's really nice is I'm working with a fellow Baha'i, and we, the first time in my life, we started this company, Wayfair, and we put Baha'i principles, and everybody has to operate under the Baha'i principles, including us. It's not easy. It's a high standard for us, including Justin and I. But it's to me, this is like incredible. And actually how well it works, and how much we also do it a little bit with our family office as well. Yeah, I love how much non-Baha'is really embrace the principles. So a couple of the principles are not backbiting anybody, and that's universal in our company, and consultation. Those are a couple of the main ones.
If I could just have one other context specifically related to Pody. As a Black man trying to strive for success in a business environment, for all the reasons, that's a challenge. Add the challenge of trying to do it with the character and commitment of a Baha'i. And I just want to I'm sure you have a sense of it, but I want to state explicitly, if it has not been stated before, it is, an extreme challenge, even with the, Harvard MBA and these other things. But again, it's a challenge that I, as a devoted Baha'i, accept and feel, prepared to take on. Every day, though, it's a conversation. Someone's, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? You should be doing. And, I have to kind of keep saying, no, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I know there is a way for me to do it successfully.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. My pleasure. Harvard MBA is way above me, so he's going to have to teach me.
Thanks, Barbara.
That's the beauty of it. We're just from all walks of life. Karen, did you want to say something? I know I had reached out to you.
I would just say that while I've been a Baha'i almost 40 years, this Pody movement has reanimated me. I had the blessing of having my spiritual parent being a woman of African descent. I was a young woman from the Bronx, and and then I moved to Connecticut, which is a very white space in terms of the Baha'i community. But she saw me, and having that relational connection is really what attracted me, not to the faith, but it gave me ear to listen to her. And so I just want to say, as a long time standing Baha'i and as somebody that serves on an institution, to my white brothers and sisters that are on this call, how important it is in terms of us reaching the Black community to support Black Baha'is that's all I want to say. It's so important, and to listen, be better listeners and lovers, because those of us who have been here a long time, a lot of us have had our hearts broken, but because of our love for Baha'u'llah, we hang in there. And Barbara is an angel, and I'm so grateful for her. Thank you for the time to share my 2 cents.
Ladjamaya. Ladjamaya is one of those people that at Foundation Hall University is so trustworthy, because we need lots of facilitators to go 5 days a week, and I can always count on her. Ladjamaya, how has this Pody movement moved you?
this, we keep referring to this as the Poti movement. Now, isn't that distinguishing? So we talk about the Baha'i movement, and we know the Poti movement is just a part of that which Baha'u'llah has given us. So when you ask how has this affected me, it has basically lit a fire within my heart. It has moved me to greater action than before. It has rekindled my commitment. My commitment to Baha'u'llah has never been a question for me. And for anyone who has suffered that, you have my prayers. But you know, once we commit to Baha'u'llah, nobody should be able to tear asunder your love for Baha'u'llah. So when I'm so grateful that Barbara has realized her calling in establishing spaces where Black people like myself can find a greater sense of confidence, can find a renewed meaning in the writings of Baha'u'llah. It's not like we didn't know this distinction that had been given to us. I remember going to the Vanguard of the Dawning Conference back in '94, and Pupil of the Eye was right there in our face. But to have accepted it to the extent that we're accepting it today, this is new. And I think it has a lot to do with the circumstances of the days in which we live. We're being, media has put the oppression right here in front of our faces, and we can't turn away. We can't ignore it. We as individual Black people, as individual people, period, as the institutions of the faith, cannot ignore it. So it's time. You know, the times keep progressing to the point where we, as the followers of Baha, must stand and do what we've been asked to do. Must stand and do what we've been directed to do without feeling like we even have the option to do otherwise. We got to move beyond these little petty, and they are petty. Dear friends, they are petty. If you believe in Baha'u'llah and what Baha'u'llah has said, you're going to work to the best of your ability to do all you can to fulfill his writings. So you move beyond what you think is somebody, quote unquote, dissing you or pushing you to the side, and you march forward in serried lines to do the work of Baha'u'llah. So these spaces have given me an opportunity to grow in knowledge of history, in knowledge of the faith, the writings, and in, as like Popeye with the spinach, in courage, in boldness. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, everybody who moves forward in this vein.
Thank you so much, Ladjamaya. And for those, I know that Josefina put in the chat box, www.worldembracing.net. We have a schedule there. We have reflection gatherings there. We study every single day. On Mondays, we share kind of like what we did here every Monday. We share, hey, here's what we're doing. So we can nurture and encourage each other. On Tuesdays, we focus on the life of Abdu'l-Baha. On Wednesdays, now we're studying the call to action, that's 61 pages that came from our National Spiritual Assembly. On Thursdays, we're studying that packet that came from the Universal House of Justice. And then on Fridays, we've got, the letter that just went from the National Spiritual Assembly, as well as another packet of information. I think that's the one, that pilot study that was from Nashville, Charlotte, and Washington, D.C. So we do intense study. We don't just read it there. We may read it 50 times Because, as Baha'u'llah says, immerse yourself in the ocean of my words that ye may unravel its secrets and discover all the pearls of wisdom that lie hid in the depths. So there's no superficial, read it once, twice, 2 times, 10 times. We read through the whole thing twice, then we go page by page, then we go paragraph by paragraph until we can translate it into reality and action. Steve, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Barbara, thank you so much. Thank you for everyone that shared.